Hi. You don't know me, and I'm not going to give my name, but I will say that I'm an American living in France. I've been living in France for at least 3 years with no interruption, and I've been living here on and off for many years before then. First came to Europe in 1991 to study at the University of Madrid. Afterwards, I went to Normandy. I then returned to the United States. I came back to France for the first time after many years in 1998, and as I said, I continually visited here. After staying here a certain amount of time, I've come to realize certain things about what life is like here in France. And if you will permit me, I would like to share my experiences with you. The reason behind this is because I know that some experiences are only available to people when they actually experience them firsthand. For that reason, it's always best to go to a place. If you really want to know what New York is like, go to New York. If you really want to know what life is like in Los Angeles or anywhere, any place in the world, go to that place. Some people can't come to France, and some people, even if they come to France, they'll not experience it as I'm experiencing it, which is as an African-American woman. And I want to tell you that, you know, as an African-American, it's really a unique position because on one hand, you're African, you know, even if it's a distance in time that you actually connected to Africa, you still have that genetic tie to Africa. But at the same time, culturally speaking, I am and have always thought of myself as an American. I deeply love my nation. And when I came to France, it was with also a dear affection. I always, from very early in my life, loved France. My older brothers and sisters brought their textbooks home when I was a little child. They had, you know, to learn different languages, French or Spanish. And I chose French. I chose to look into the books and to try to discover what this language was about. And I've always been curious. About 13, I could take courses in French myself. And you know how it works in our system. Slowly but surely, I learned the language. Eventually, I took it at the university level. But I'm also Hispanic. I don't know if that, you know, that comes across. But my father was born in a Latin American country. I would say that my grandmother was Mexican, and so I have Latin blood from my father's side, from my paternal grandmother, from my paternal grandfather, and you know, African Americans can, like any American, can be very mixed, but I consider myself, as I said, an African American, and as I said, an American, very democratic in my understanding of how government should work, and you know, very much supportive of a pluralist system in which everyone participates. You know, and as I said, I deeply and dearly loved what we know about the European countries. What American doesn't look back at Europe and say, oh, the old country? You know, even though Africa is really my old country, a part of me dearly appreciates Europe, as we all do. And we all think that France is a deeply, a very rich, culturally rich country. We all think that people are very cultivated and educated here. We all think that they're the masters of food and, I would say, culture. We all think that they're highly gifted in art and philosophy, and we all look to them. We owe to them the idea of separation of church and state and so on. We owe to them also a debt for helping us in the American Revolution. I think I'm not alone in having appreciated France. I think many Americans also love France, and I deeply respect all Americans and all people around the world who love France. But I also want to share with you what it's like to be in France and being a black person. First of all, I'd like to say with no equivocation that this country is shockingly racist. Shockingly racist. Even though they're all the accoutrements of a modern society, you'll find people living just as we lived in 1950. where one is deeply gratified when you see a black place on television for the first time. You know, I wasn't around in the 50s, but I want to say that at one point there were no black people. Well, we didn't have very much television, but when we did have television, there really were no black people. It was just Nat King Cole, as I understand it. Eventually we had Julia, and then more and more black people began to appear on television. Unfortunately, people began to show images of pimps and show images of negative images of black women as prostitutes, but still from early on in our history, we've had black participation in all parts of our media, whether it's television, radio, cinema, art, plastics. We've always had black people participating. Here, first of all, I'd like to say there's really very little participation, just as it was back in the 1950s. Only the 1950s is 57 years ago. So you have to wonder, why is France still living in 1950 so that black people have no representation in television? In this very last year, they've begun to change that because black people were deeply hurt by some of their activities, such as wanting to pass a law which is called La Loi Février 2005, February 2005 law, which indicated that nowhere, no how, under no circumstances could children be taught anything negative about the colonial period. As you probably know, France has a very long history as a colonial power and has a very large empire, one that can be compared to the British Empire. The Americans had very few colonies. I don't think that we really had any colonies. But how can we really appreciate what it's like to own people and to own their land? In France, nations were owned by France and continue to be owned by France. We have what they call downtown, DOM, Département Outre-mer. And these sections of the world are in the Caribbean. And next to countries that have total sovereignty, you'll have what France calls departments of their nation, just as we have states of our nation. And in these departments, there are no black officials. I mean, all is run by white French. Now, so I hope, I don't want to say everything in this one first video. I just wanted to say that my videos I will be uploading, I would like to be explaining to you some of the things that's happened to me as a woman, as an American, as a black person, as a black African American, and also, just as a human being. I've been really treated badly here because this is a very harsh nation, and I don't want to say that I'm going home to tell my mom, but I do want to tell Americans what this country is, and so that no one goes around with illusions coming here with stars in their eyes as I did. Okay? So thank you for listening to me, and if you are crazy about France and you want to knife me because I criticize your country, well, I want to tell you something. First of all, that's against the law to go out and revenge yourself on me. Second of all, it's a free world, and I have the right to discuss my experiences, and I frankly feel that France is one of the worst places in the world for people of color to live, and I want people to know that. I want to give them a chance to have an idea and not be full of lies. And people are always lying about how wonderful this place is, and then they get here, and some people are totally devastated. I see soulless people walking around this country, which is a rich and powerful nation. And I'm sure those people will one day appreciate to have heard that, someone reached out and said something. Maybe, of course, they will never hear this, but if they do hear it, then you can't say I didn't tell you so. Anyway, no hate mail, okay? I'm not interested. Thank you very much. Bye.